We're going to be looking at how to simplify ratios very generally, okay? So we're looking at 4 different types of ratio, and each of them have one thing in common: they have to be in the right form before we can simplify. So we need to make sure the ratio is in the right form before we simplify. So we've got 28 to 32, which is the most basic type of ratio. It is in the right form. Right? They're both in the same units, they're both of the same type. So all we need to do is identify a common factor and then simplify. The common factor between 28 and 32, what I've chosen, or what one of them is the one I've picked, is going to be 2, and I've chosen 2 because both are even. Now you might identify another factor, and that's perfectly fine. If you have identified the highest common factor, that's also perfectly fine. So I simplify on that with 14 to 16. Now the third step is to simplify fully. To simplify fully, we need to repeat step number 2, okay, so a ratio is fully simplified. Now if your eye was good with this and your knowledge was strong, you could have said, well, the highest common factor between 28 and 32 is 4. So if I divide both parts by 4, I get 7 to 8. But you could do it in this split up way, where you half them and half them again if you're not sure what the highest common factor is. Now £3.20 and 200 pence are not in the same unit, so the first step is to make sure they are in the same unit. So £3.20 is 320 pence. We write that as that. We then identify the common factor and we simplify. So the important point is to get them in the same units first. I'm having to simplify fully. That means I have to find another common factor, and so that's going to be 4, so I end up with 8 to 5. Now again, if you're good at this, the highest common factor was 40, so you could divide 320 and 200 by 40 and you would end up with 8 to 5, and it fully simplified. For the one with the fractions in it, we have to make the denominators the same, so we're going to scale up one of the fractions, or maybe both, till the denominators are the same. So we get 12 over 14 because we scale up 6 over 7, so now the denominators are the same. We can drop the denominator and write that fraction as 12 to 8. We then identify the common factor and we simplify, and it simplifies nicely, 3 to 2. The important part is to scale up. 6 over 7 scales up to 12 over 14. Both fractions have the same denominator. We can then drop the denominator and just write the top numbers, the numerators in the ratio, and that allows us to simplify. When we have decimals involved, we have to scale both of the decimals up by multiplying by 10 or some number that allows us to remove the decimal. Once we've done that, the ratio is in the correct form for us to identify a common factor and simplify. So I've identified that 3 is a common factor, so I end up with 12 to 3, then that can be simplified by dividing by 3, I get 4 to 1. Again, if you can identify that 9 is a common factor, it will make your life easier.